On July 2nd, 2025, the music industry, and frankly the entire entertainment world, stood still as the jury delivered a bombshell verdict against Sean Diddy Combs. Found guilty of 2 federal counts related to transportation for prostitution, Diddy's empire now teeters on the brink of collapse. But forget what you've already heard. This is the unfiltered scoop on what's coming next. Diddy now faces up to 20 years behind bars. Sentencing is scheduled for 3 months from now, and prosecutors are already pushing for the maximum sentence. Given federal sentencing guidelines, factors such as previous criminal records, of which Diddy has none, and testimonies of alleged victims will heavily influence his fate. Yet, here's the kicker. The judge could lean toward a harsher punishment because of the public nature of the case, sending a stern message about power, celebrity, and accountability. Almost immediately after the verdict, Diddy's high-powered legal team, including some of the best criminal defense attorneys money can buy, filed notices signaling their intent to appeal. This process alone could drag out for years, potentially keeping Combs out on bail pending the outcome. Legal insiders believe the defense will argue insufficient evidence, judicial bias, and juror misconduct. Expect this to dominate legal news for the foreseeable future.
Federal judge in the Sean Diddy Combs trial has just denied bail for Combs hours after a split verdict in the racketeering and sex trafficking case against him. On the 3rd day of deliberations, the jury finding Combs not guilty on 3 of 5 counts, acquitting him of the most serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Combs guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Each count carries a maximum of up to 10 years behind bars. The verdict considered a huge win for Combs, who is facing the possibility of life in prison. He's been behind bars since his arrest in September.
As the conviction news spread, Diddy's vast financial empire, valued at close to $1 billion, began to tremble. Brands tied to Diddy, including Revolt TV, Sean John Clothing, Ciroc Vodka partnerships, and his music label Bad Boy Records, are facing intense public scrutiny. Industry analysts predict brands and collaborators will quickly distance themselves, fearing backlash from consumers who no longer tolerate controversial affiliations. Within the next 6 months, we could see a wave of terminated contracts and drastically shrinking revenue streams. Previously loyal artists and industry colleagues have already begun distancing themselves publicly. Big names formerly aligned with Diddy, such as Mary J. Blige, French Montana, and DJ Khaled, have remained noticeably silent, likely on the advice of public relations teams scrambling to minimize their artists' exposure to controversy. This industry isolation could permanently alter Diddy's influence, shifting power dynamics in the hip-hop community. With this criminal conviction, the door has been swung wide open for civil lawsuits. Alleged victims, including those who testified during the criminal trial, are now empowered to file suits seeking compensation for damages. According to sources familiar with ongoing negotiations, high-profile law firms specializing in sexual misconduct cases are lining up plaintiffs, predicting a massive payout scenario similar to what we've seen with Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein's estates.
Sean, Diddy, whatever, I know he's changed his nickname like a million times, but I kind of know why. This guy's been in the reinvention of badness business for a really long time, evidently. So if we have him, why does it seem that the story is still much bigger? Now, at first, I wrote it off as the boogeyman principle, like with Epstein. You know, you don't get the full story on Epstein. It is much more provocative to say someone killed him because of exactly what I'm talking about with Diddy, that there had to be more, right? Because remember what the commodity is. The commodity is as old as society, which is the power brokers, the establishment, the elite, whatever you want to call them. They used to be called the bourgeoisie. Every society has gone through this, that there are people in power that you don't know about that have the hand, the hand of influence that makes everything happen. That is this world that you don't know, but you're greatly influenced by. It's always worked. And it has always been true to varying degrees, but almost always with a principle of mitigation beyond what you're being sold. And we are there again. And it reminds me of Harvey Weinstein in a way, but more troubling on a level. How? Epstein, Weinstein, Diddy. What is the common thread? People with power through access, wealth, which helps connect to power, who are able to do that we find not only frightening and disgusting and illegal, but perverse. And the perversity matters.
If Combs receives the maximum penalty, incarceration at a federal correctional institution would drastically reshape his daily life. Given his high-profile status, he would likely be placed in protective custody to ensure his safety, drastically limiting social interactions and privileges. Conversely, if sentenced to probation or a combination of shorter incarceration followed by supervised release, Diddy would be required to comply with strict guidelines, regular check-ins, and restricted travel, effectively ending his jet-setting lifestyle. Public relations experts agree Diddy faces an uphill battle if he ever hopes to rebuild his image. Unlike previous celebrity scandals, this conviction carries a deep moral stigma. While redemption arcs aren't unheard of, Diddy's rehabilitation would likely require significant charitable gestures, public contrition, and perhaps most importantly, a prolonged period out of the spotlight. Whether he's capable of such humility remains to be seen.
Vanity Fair, I live an extravagant life and I make no apologies for it. I'm free as a motherfucker.
Victim advocacy groups are already heralding this conviction as a landmark moment in the fight against celebrity abuses of power. Expect an amplified dialogue around accountability in the entertainment industry, potentially inspiring other victims of powerful figures to come forward. In the longer term, this could lead to new regulations and oversight mechanisms aimed at protecting vulnerable individuals within the entertainment world. Insiders report intense behind-the-scenes lobbying by Diddy's legal and public relations teams aimed at influencing public and industry perceptions. Quietly, efforts are being made to ensure that negative details remain controlled. Sources close to the case indicate that substantial financial resources are being deployed in these private efforts to limit additional reputational damage. Given the gravity of this conviction, Diddy will likely step back entirely from the public eye for at least the foreseeable future. Yet he's notoriously resilient and adept at reinventing himself. Industry veterans speculate he may attempt a return through behind-the-scenes production or philanthropic endeavors, but full redemption remains uncertain at best. While headlines focus on sentencing and immediate fallout, hidden from public view are the negotiations occurring behind closed doors, settlement discussions, non-disclosure agreements, and quiet financial maneuvers to limit further damage. The true extent of these actions may not come to light for years, if ever.
After his verdict was announced, stars who have been connected to Combs over the years spoke out on social media, with fellow rapper 50 Cent posting a photo of himself smiling and mocking Combs' good fortune. He wrote alongside the pic, "Diddy beat the feds, that boy a bad man, beat the Rico," before comparing him to late mobster John Gotti. Aubrey O'Day, Combs' former protege and member of Danity Kane, also shared her candid reaction to his fate. She said while filming CNN's live coverage of the verdict on her Instagram stories,
"Oh my God. Not guilty on Cassie, not guilty on Rico. No way that Jane is going to be guilty. Oh, this makes me physically ill. Cassie probably feels so horrible.
Involved in that. It could still be that the jury finds,
Ronnie,
yes, a person
I'm gonna
was
vomit.
moved across.
Justice for me in this setting, I would like to see all of the crimes that I know are true for him to serve time for all of those, personally.
Also speaking out was an attorney for Cassie Ventura, who dated Combs on and off from 2007 until 2018. Her lawyer said in a statement to E! News, "This entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie Ventura, had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. Although the jury did not find Combs guilty of sex trafficking Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, she paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution." Her attorney added, "We must repeat with no reservation that we believe and support our client, who showed exemplary courage throughout this trial."
Ultimately, Sean Combs' guilty verdict isn't just a personal downfall. It's a seismic event that reshapes celebrity culture, business relationships, and societal conversations around power and accountability. Keep your eyes here, because this story in all its hidden layers is far from over. That's the gossip for now, raw, unfiltered, and always digging deeper. Hit subscribe and keep watching, because what's hidden today becomes tomorrow's explosive headline.